Prelude. Dear reader, your humble servant here presents you with a somewhat curious yet suggestive and thought-provoking work. So far as mere language is concerned, it might have been set forth upon its travels up and down the world, clad in better raiment, but as I had nothing better than linsey woolsey whereof to fashion its apparel, why, it must even take its chance at that. A man's coat amounts but little at best, compared to the man inside it, and so of books. It is not always your guiltless annual, or either carries the most precious freight, or does the most good in the world. Hence, so far as the verbal clothing of my precious babe, this child of my soul, is concerned, so far as it relates to the terms wherein here are offered is couched, nothing need be said apologetically. If the dress suits, well and good. If not, it is even well. The writer has done the very best that he could be done. No one can do more. In making the assertions, the weird and strange revealments contained within the lids of this book, no one can be better aware of the risk encountered of being laughed at by the wise people of this wise age than I am. Doubtless, there are those who will cavil, deride, sneer, and condemn the author and the work. But what of that? My truths, if truths indeed they be, and to me they are intensely such, will live. Why? Because they were chipped off the rock of truth itself, and therefore will unquestionably survive many a laugh, as have other truths ere now. They and their discoverer can well afford being laughed at. The author feels that when the great reaper, death, shall have done his work, these same truth seeds will spring up from form, life, and beauty, all for the gladdening of the people. And this feeling, this inner prophecy of to the soul, contents and satisfies the being. Friendly reader, when this body shall have gone back to the dust whence it sprung in hopeful years gone by, when this soul shall be nestling in the bosom of its Savior and its God, people who shall read these pages will find, if not before, more in that which the heart-weary one here has written than either a psychological romance or daring speculations of an undisciplined genius. The foregoing observations have reference more especially to the first part of the work, which is presented in the form of revelations from the dead. It does not owe its origin from what is orderly known as spiritualism. It does not speak either of the raps, tips, table turning, speaking mediumship, writing, or in any other of the modes commonly claimed for the mass of spiritual literature, now so widely circulated and read. The process by which what follows came is to me as weirdly strange and novel as anything can well be. I call the process the blending. The people called mediums, a singular order of men, set forth that their bodies are, for the time being, vacated by their souls, and that during the vacation the soul of someone else who has died and yet lives takes possession of the physical structure, and then proceeds to give forth his or her wisdom for the folly, for the enlightenment or darkening of men's mind. Another class tells us that they are impressed by a departed one to give voice to the spirit's thought. Others declare they are obsessed. Well, it may be so, or it may not. I do not assume or presume to decide one way or the other. All that needs to be said on this point is that this book does not owe its origin to either of those methods. Machiavelli, the great Italian diplomat, is said to have gained a thorough and complete knowledge and insight of the state of frame of mind and intentions of other men through a wonderful power he possessed above most, if not all men, of completely identifying himself by an intense desire of volition with those with whom he came in contact. To such an extent and degree did he possess this power that it was easily tasked to circumvent and overreach most, if not all, his diplomatic opponents. He placed himself by a mental and physical effort in the exact position occupied for the time being by his antagonist or the person he designed to read. No matter what the mood indicated by the physical appearance or outward manifestation of what was going on within, away down in the deeps of the being was, he immediately molded his features by the model thus furnished. I am now in his place, he said mentally, and will see how to act, think, and feel from his position. And from the time being I will sink my own personality, my opinions, views, in short, all of my selfhood, prejudices, likes, dislikes, and all else beside in a word, I transmute Machiavelli into the other man. which being affected I shall be, to all intents and purposes, that other man for the time being. And of course will feel all he feels, see as he sees, knows as he knows, and be impelled to action by the identical motives whereby he is prompted. All the world knows that Machiavelli succeeded to a wonderful extent, and by the power of assumption, this easy yet mysterious blending, he often, in fact nearly always, baffled his foes and the foes of the state, so that now a successful diplomatist is said to be pursuing the Machiavellian policy. Almost any person can make successful experiments in this science, shall we call it, and be surprised at the results. A man or woman appears before you with features bearing the impress of a certain kind of thought, and you can find out what kind by placing your own features, so far as possible, in the same shape. Keep them thus for several minutes, and you will become absorbed in the same thought that absorbs the individual before you, and in short time will become an adept in the art of soul reading. Many men, and still a greater number of women, who possess this power alluded to, have existed in all times past. But above all others, the age we live in has been prolific of such, so that now it is almost not at all difficult to find those who can enter, almost at will, the very abysses, labyrinths, and most secret recesses of your being. Indeed, persons abound in nearly all the great cities of the world who attain high honor and renown, to say nothing of benefits of competence and even wealth, by the exercise of this marvelous faculty. There are many wise ones who admit the existence of this power, yet deny its attainability by many, and who stoutly maintain that its special gift of the Creator to a favored few. From such a verdict the writer begs, leaves most respectfully to dissent, and these are the grounds upon which the dissent is based. All human powers and faculties are latent, until time, circumstance, and discipline bring them out. All human beings are created alike in so far as the germinal powers are concerned. All men naturally love sweet sounds, and if the taste be cultivated at an early day, are capable of music appreciation, if not vocal or instrumental execution. The seeds all unfolding lie perdue or latent in every human being. They are the property of the soul. In soul soil they are embedded, and from the soul they must eventually put forth shoot, shrub, tree, branch, leaf, blossom, and finally fruit. Every faculty, strictly human, belongs to and is part of every member of the species, and that, this fact being admitted, through any given one or more be manifested most powerfully by some, and not at all by others, all of them are one day to be developed, called out, unfolded, and all is a plain inference, nay, an absolute certainty. The power to see without eyes, demonstrated by scores and hundreds of clairvoyants, is not a gift peculiar to a certain type of man or woman, or to a certain order of people. It is the power that can be had for the trying, as any good mesmerist will affirm and can prove. It seems to me that the expression of the crucified, I and my Father are one, contained a direct affirmation of possibility of this blending. God was to Jesus the very essence of goodness. Jesus strove to be almost thoroughly good, and succeeded in reaching to the point where himself was in perfect blending with the entire universe of goodness, and therefore with the fount of all excellence. The perfect blending is perfect love, and whether that love be towards the person, the outer self, the body, or towards the soul, or the mental treasures, or the secret self of another, the results are in degree, if not in kind, the same. Mental telegraphy will be a perfect success whenever two persons can be found in whom the power of entering the region of sympathia shall normally exist. A few can transmit thought to receive and thought back from others, even now, but presently scores of people will develop the ability. Now, this blending is not a mere magnetic union of physical spheres, but it is a soul process nearly altogether. Love, in its essence, is the thing of spiritual part of us, though, alas, it is often put to base uses.